Okay, hey everybody, Wade Northhausen here for Billboard Battalion. We're here in Sydney. Today's the 21st of December 2025. And we've been at the rally here to support and remember and talk about some of the things that have led up to the tragic shooting that happened last Sunday on Bondi Beach. So one of the speakers in today's presentation of probably, I would say, be about 300 odd people here. I would just a rough guess. Is Ali, and you might fire off your second name, Ali.
Ali B.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I can say it if you want. Big so there. You want to have a crack?
It's all good. So Ali, look, thanks for talking to us, mate. And you did a great speech. It's on our video, so that'll be up. When we get that cut up, we're a bit light on here for internet, so we couldn't do it live. But anyway, we'll put that up. So yes, the speech that you made was very, very strong, and a lot of what you talk about is similar to the sort of things I say and have been for many, many, many years. So, I say, this was not unexpected. We're dealing with radical, extremist, violent people who openly tell you what their plans are and what they're going to do. So you might, what were your thoughts on that kind of a line? I know everybody now wants to go very soft and gentle and all that sort of thing, but I think we need to deal with facts.
Yes. So the first thing I have to say is that often the media and many politicians, as we have seen, the Australian authorities have come out and said that we cannot talk against Islam and political Islam and jihadism because it happens to be racist, quote unquote racist or far right extremism. I'm a brown man. I come from Iran. I'm a first generation immigrant myself. We fled that country because it was occupied by Islamism to come to Australia to live under Australian values, which was founded upon Judeo-Christian values. So Islam, we need to understand that Islam is an ideology. It is an ideology. It is a set of ideas. Islam is neither a person, nor a race, nor an ethnicity. So when you criticize Islam for some of the things that are within the doctrine, it doesn't make you racist, it doesn't make you sexist or anything like that. It makes you simply criticizing a set of ideas in the same way that some people would criticize Christianity or any other idea, Marxism, Nazism. All these things are ideologies. Yep. And in the same way, Islam is. So you criticizing Islam doesn't make you doesn't make you a bigot, right? So that term Islamophobia, and I always like to quote back to Christopher Hitchens, who says so greatly in such a short way, Islamophobia is a term made by fascists, used by cowards to manipulate morons. So don't be afraid of that word. And like you said, to answer your question, yes, this has been clearly led up. We, as part of the Iranian community who advocate against the Islamic regime occupying Iran, which have foreign interference here in Australia as well and in the West in general, we've been warning this for years on years upon years, that political Islam is a threat, is an existential threat, arguably the greatest existential threat to the West, and we need to take it seriously, as we saw last Sunday.
So, and I think this is an interesting situation to have an Iranian bloke here, right? Because I talk a lot about this stuff. We do a lot of presentations, public and all across the country and so on. And if we look at the march across the Sydney Harbour Bridge just recently, and I publicly talk about those people, in particular, how stupid the women are. Because now, and I'm surprised I don't get a bit more flack, but we shoot straight, we tell it as it is, and the facts are the facts, the evidence is the evidence. So to all the women who are marching for Islam, you would know better than most others, and your Iranian women would know better than most others. What sort of a life is it under Sharia law for a female?
Yep. So to put it succinctly, in Iran, under Sharia law, women, by constitutional law, are considered half the value of a man. Okay? Women do not have the freedom to show their hair freely or really show their skin. Okay? And Afghanistan is arguably even worse. Women are constantly abused for simply trying to use their voice. You cannot sing alone. You cannot dance. You cannot. There's many different factors to take in mind. But women under Islamic law are not treated in any way, to take an iota even, the way that they are viewed in the West, okay, under Judeo-Christian values. So when I see particularly self-proclaimed feminists out there marching for Palestine, LGBT for Palestine, it is, as the old saying goes, everyone, chickens for KFC. Literally, that is that. Turkeys for Christmas. Like, it is utter stupidity. And I cannot fathom this enough. Words cannot describe how stupid this is. The Harbour Bridge March, obviously, to be honest with you, was a traumatic moment for me. Because talk to any Iranian and they will tell you how much the regime of Khomeini and Khamenei has traumatized them, particularly women. And when you see a portrait of Khamenei at the front of the march on the Harbour Bridge, the most iconic piece of infrastructure in all of Australia, we have a problem. We have a Islam problem in Australia. There's no other way of putting it. Yeah.
Without question, and I just and also the gays for Palestine and all this. I mean, I get it that some of these people have been so indoctrinated in the universities, and this many years ago was one of the tactics that they used to infiltrate universities, infiltrate the media and politics, all the things that influence people. But these people marching across the bridge or whatever, do they not see what is openly, abundantly available on in particular the internet, where you've got some Islamic cleric or something sitting up there going, now I want to explain the correct way to stone a woman to death.
Yeah.
Do you not think this would ring alarm bells with even the dumbest, stupidest people in the world?
I know exactly which podcast you're talking about, and I actually posted about that, where they're discussing the correct way to stone a woman, to stone someone for adultery. It was disgusting. I was sick to my stomach, and to see that widely broadcasted everywhere. It was from the UK, I believe. Nevertheless, you made an interesting point regarding widely available information. Unfortunately, we live in an age where, yes, information is widely available. However, because there's so much information and there's algorithms specifically designed for people to be ideologically manipulated, that's what makes it so dangerous. The books are available, even on the internet. No need to go further than a simple ChatGPT search. Tell me about this surah in the Quran about, sex slaves and women. But they don't do that because they've been ideologically manipulated by Soviet propaganda and Islamic propaganda. Those two coming together is what we call, Iranians, the unholy alliance between the red and black. Okay, historically, not only in Iran but in other nations, they have come together ideologically, temporarily, until a revolution or some sort of anarchy takes place, and then the Islamists will always take supremacy. And guess who's the first to be the victims? Not us. It's going to be those same leftists, those same Marxists that supported the Islamists in the first place. What I like to say is those who are kissing the boot now are going to be the first to feel the boot on their neck.
And I mean, in a strange way, you got to say, well, you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
So we've heard a lot of people, and you may or may not want to talk about this, but we've heard a lot of people say about they should sack Albanese or they should vote them out. my opinion is that the Labor Party and the Greens should all be arrested, and they should stand trial for aiding and abetting terrorists to shoot and kill Australian citizens, because they have, and these, once again, I deal in the facts, and what I can see are straight pure facts, they have enabled this problem that happened last Sunday. They have enabled it and encouraged it. So that's my thoughts on that. Do you have any?
Sure. Okay. So I can definitely say that about the Greens, 100%. Right. Now I'll tell you this. I'll tell you my background. Actually, I've always been a Labor voter. Right. Growing up here, but to say the least, this year I have been utterly disappointed, and don't know if that's just me becoming mature or, I don't know, becoming more knowledgeable over time, but I feel like my political views are definitely changing. I am a little bit more politically homeless today. I do align a lot with Pauline Hanson's views. Many years ago, if you would ask me, I would have disagreed, but now I'm like, you know what, she was right. So Greens, I'm definitely going to have to say yes, I agree. Labor has definitely enabled plenty of what has happened, particularly one significant point is the acknowledgement or recognising a Palestinian state. Even as stupid as it is, it doesn't mean anything, but ideologically it manipulates these people, or it appropriates their actions to do what they do. Not taking Islamists seriously, not taking these mosques. Why is the Al Medina Mosque in Bankstown still open? Why are these people still allowed out in our streets? If you go to Town Hall today on a Saturday and Sunday, you have Islamic preachers in Town Hall Square, literally right now, in Town Hall Square, preaching to young Australians, including Wissam Haddad, who is on the ASIO watch list. He was the one who what's his name? Naveed Akram was inspired and was an associate of. Why is he still allowed on Australian streets? So the fact that Labor still enables these people to be around amongst us, I'm definitely open to what you're saying. I don't disagree. I'm not an expert in the law to look at into, how does it work and whatnot. But you know what? I'm not disagreeing with you. I think there needs to be some major investigations done so that at the very least, not only a royal commission into political Islam and jihad in all of Australia, but the current Labor government, 100%. Yeah.
Well, I think you're far too kind. Knowing what, and I've been dealing with this for a long time. The Port Arthur massacre back in 1996. Yeah. Dealing with politics as I do, the Prime Minister, the Labor Party, the Greens, they, through their security agencies, what a joke, ASIO going to keep us safe. Oh my God. Okay, so they would know step by step what these people were doing, what they're up to, what level they're at, because the surveillance they've got these days is, like I say to people, they can tell you what you talk about in your sleep.
Yep.
So don't tell us they didn't know that was going to happen, and don't tell us that they did not enable that to happen and then exploit it for political purposes. That is exactly what happened. So, I have a much stronger view on what happened. I think that the AFP, not the Chief Commissioner, who, to be at that level, you've got to be, in my opinion, totally corrupt. You've got to be helping to enable this problem. But, there's got to be some decent people in AFP, some decent people in ASIO. They should march into Parliament and they should arrest them and they should charge them with these crimes, because they are responsible every bit as much as the Greens are. So, and I say this stuff, we do this sort of stuff because it is that serious. Yeah. The people that don't realise, the people who are walking across the bridge, do they understand that these serious jihadists, they tell you they are going to come and kill you. Yes. They're going to take over your country, and the ones who don't subscribe to Islam will be killed. Yep. I mean, how much clearer do you want it?
Yeah. So regarding politics, I think you nailed it. Like, it all comes back down to political fear. these politicians, they don't want to displease the Muslim vote. And that's the reality of it. The moment you come and tackle the problem of Islam and Islamic ideology, the Muslims aren't going to be pleased with you. But like you said, to say it as it is, that is the root of the problem. We need to address the problem that is political Islam. Now, I'm not having a go at Muslims who want to simply practice the spiritual component of Islam, praying in their private life, restraint, refraining from the consumption of alcohol and pork and whatnot.
Absolutely.
That is not my business. I'm a libertarian first and foremost. It is not my business what you do in your private life. But the moment it becomes political, and the Islamic ideology predominantly is a political jihadist ideology. It is there to expand. If we don't tackle this, the West will go down a hill. And we need to stop tolerating intolerance. Because if we continuously tolerate intolerance, intolerance will undermine Western society, as is what we're seeing today. Look at Europe. Europe's a great example. When I see Christmas markets being closed down to what I grew up with here in Australia, New Year's Eve celebrations being closed down all over Europe, pro-Palestinians being investigated by the FBI in the United States of America because them wanting to plan a terrorist attack against American civilians during Christmas. This stuff is serious.
Yeah, very much so.
I really don't see people who like, oh no, it's just odd lone actors. This is all a coordinated, planned attack together. Yeah,
100%. They talk about the global caliphate and so on. Yeah. That's what it's about. So, all right. Well, look, there's probably a hell of a lot more we could talk about. I think it's pretty important to do so. But just for today, look, I'd really like to say thanks for it. You did a terrific speech. A great job there. Thanks for talking to us, because if we don't get on the ground, we don't tell it as it is, they're going to get all this fluffy, wishy-washy crap,
right-wing extremism.
Well, yeah, mate. And like I constantly talk about, right-wing extremism, domestic terrorism, neo-Nazis, white supremacists. This is the stuff they create to...
I've lived in Australia my entire life, okay? I'm a brown man. I have never received a significant degree of racism which I would consider traumatizing. Let me make that absolutely clear.
Yep. And Aussies, generally speaking, are the most easygoing. How's it going, mate? All sorts of things. We've had every different kind of people come to Australia, from God knows when. So we make it work, but we can't work with that stuff because that wants to kill you.
Yes.
You cannot reason with that.
Yes.
All right, mate. Well, look, thanks very much.
Pleasure.
We'll catch up again. I'll get you my number and that, and if there's any more you want to say, I think this is going to grow.
Yeah.
And we've got to deal with it.
The only thing I would like to add is, please, people, please start speaking up. This is not the time to be silent. This is not the time to fear. And I always say this, we all fear. I have fear myself. It's an innate response in all of us, but use that fear and channel it into productivity. Channel it into patriotism. There's nothing wrong with patriotism. It's healthy, it's sustainable. There's nothing racist about being patriotic and loving your country. So put that fear aside, become friends with it rather, and use it to speak up. This is the time to speak up. Don't be afraid of the word Islamophobia, okay? So once we acknowledge that, only then can we move forward together. Bless you all.
All right, mate. Thanks a lot again, and we'll catch up again soon. Thank you.